questions that comes up, Thomas, is, once people start learning that the other half of the equation of energy transfer is in the frequencies of the plant, and those plant frequencies are resonant, which means they support those pathways in the body. That's phenomenal. That's called the design of life, which I think is just incredible. But once they figured that out, here's a question that comes up. Why don't you just take an herb, smash it up, and put it in a spray bottle or a spice or some other plant? In other words, why would you go through isolating these frequencies, extracting these frequencies, stabilizing these frequencies, and then transferring them into the carrier or the media of water?
That's a good question. I have done that, and I did that for quite a while. The challenge with that is you have a limitation of matter. If you look at a chemical equation, you have the same elements on one side as the other side. That's called a balanced equation. The challenge is all of that takes up a lot of space. And if we can eliminate the space that all that takes up and just capture the frequencies, the energy that's between the molecules, because this side of the equation has an energy and it will go to this side. Now, whether it's endothermic, which means it's absorbing energy, or exothermic, giving off energy, it just changes shapes. And the energy is contained in the shape and the change of shapes that are taking place. So if we eliminate all the shapes and all the matter, we can get a highly concentrated source of energy. And that's what really does the work. The energy does the work.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because a capsule is 500 milligrams. So there's only so much matter. And are all frequencies in plants beneficial?
Well, it depends. There's about 26,000 plants that have been determined to be in the human niche in our environment and nature. And plants have multiple jobs that they do for themselves. One is they want to sustain themselves, and the other is they want to, since they can't move and they can't protect themselves in any other defense, they create chemistry to ward off predators and insects. And so in that case, you have energies or resonance that are sustaining, and you have resonance or energies that are inhibiting life to ward off other elements, whether bacteria, viruses, parasites, whatever. And so those same inhibiting life forms also inhibit our functions as well. And so if we remove those by removing those frequencies and just using the pure energies of life sustaining, then not only do we not have the matter, we don't have the dissonant resonance that create conflicts within most people. And herbs which are some of the most powerful, you usually don't have to use anything on an herb to protect it because it protects itself so well. It's so strong and resistant to everything. So there's two sides to that equation always.
Yeah, I know when in the past when we've been involved, or I've been involved, and Steve on the call too, with developing products and looking at specific herbs that have, a known capacity for supporting specific physiological functions in the body. You read about them and there's always the good and the bad.
Always
This can do this, but be careful because too much of this will do this.
Right.
And I think that's what you're referring to.
Exactly.
So it makes a lot of sense to take the good and leave the bad behind. And plus you have the capacity to put a lot more good in the water. So how long did it take you to figure this out, Thomas? Because listen, I've been in this industry for a long time and I've never seen anybody do what you're doing.
Yeah, it seems like forever, but I've been working on the concepts that go into it for 45 years, but the actual liquid portion of it, the spray portion, I've been working on for about 13 years.
And so I know you had your own patient base and your own people that followed you. Is that kind of how it's a little bit of experimentation and doing this and doing that. Is that sort of the group that followed you through the process?
Oh, yeah. But I do assessments on everything. You have to watch real life. There are different kinds of science and different kinds of observations. Science is just the observation of nature. That's all it is. And you can look at it on a small micro level, on a large macro level. I've studied the macro levels of what are the actual outcomes, what are the effects that happen to people over a period of time. And there's two sides to that equation too. There's a short term and there's a long term. So what happens in the short term could be very different than what happens in the long term. We want to go for the long term. We want to make things better 10 years from now than they are today.
Well, I know in the weight management industry, a lot of times products are developed to just absolutely spike your energy. It's not really energy, it's your adrenaline. In other words, it's going right after the fight or flight response in your bodies in a big way. And, we've seen historically people that take those, they get nervous, they got heart palpitations. So a good question is, can you move, these pathways appropriately back into their functional ranges without all those negative side effects?
Well, that's the only way you really can move them back. When you look at what actually creates a challenge with weight management is really, when you look at it, weight management is not the problem. It's a signal that there is a problem. In today's world, more people are having trouble just keeping up with everything that's going on. And because of that, their systems are falling behind. And when the system falls behind, it's going to give off signals that it's having trouble keeping up. One of the signals, one of the signs, is the difficulty in weight management. If we look at weight as being the greatest comorbidity, why would the body do that? Because its primal design is for survival. And so if it's going to put on weight, it's actually against its primal design of survival. So it's counterproductive for it to do so. It would never do it if it had the capacity for function. Now, the challenge with that is every system in the body is involved with weight management because the body moves as a convoy. So addressing all the systems in the body simultaneously will give us our greatest outcome in the short term and in the long term. That's what you were talking about, sustainable.
Yeah, and I think when you start showing these two products side by side, THERMO, people go, okay, so that's enhancing the thermogenesis and the appetite control and the cravings control and all the things, that we want. And then all of a sudden there's a sleep product. Why is there a sleep product right in the middle of a weight management program? Because nobody sees that out there in the market.
Well, again, it's two sides that need to be addressed. If you're not addressing the recovery, because that's what sleep is recovery. During the day, we're more what we would call sympathetic, we're more active, we're moving around, we're doing things. And at night, that's the time when we get to kick back, we turn off all those functions, and our body goes into restoration. It goes more into organ function. Our function is based on organ. The expression of the organ is our musculoskeletal system and our brain function, because our musculoskeletal system lives off the organs, our brain lives off the organs, and our organs get their chance to recover, clean up the day's wear and tear, create new tissues, rebuild, regenerate. Plus, that's when the brain gets its greatest opportunity for cleaning. There are cells in the brain that reduce their size by 40% so that the neurons can be bathed in a very rich nutrient broth and give off their toxins. If that doesn't occur, you don't have an effective sleep and you don't have effective recovery. And if you don't have effective sleep and you don't have effective recovery, you can't control weight management, because weight management is really function management. So to create good weight management, you have to create function management. As you were saying, there's two sides to that equation. There's the structure, there's the energy, since everything is energy. There's the energy of the matter that our body uses, and there's the energy that does the work with the matter. And that energy has been deficient in our modern era.
It's kind of interesting. We gave out bottles of both of these at our event. and that's a good reason to come to our events, guys. You never know what we're going to be giving away. But you know, we gave them away the first night that you made the presentation, and the next day we started hearing. It was amazing how much we heard about sleep.
Right.
You know, most people may not even be aware they have a sleep issue until they start sleeping well again. You know, but a lot of people were aware, and just the overwhelming response. I think we asked the next day, how many of you noticed better sleep? What, 3/4 of the hands in that room went up?
Right.
I mean, that's fascinating. And so kind of an interesting fact is people go, wait a minute, you mean resonant energy will help me sleep? Because, you know, you're thinking sleep, energy, how does that happen?
Well, there's a lot of things that happen when you sleep. It takes energy to shift gears. Everything your body does requires energy. And if you're going to shift from one pattern to the other, that requires a lot of energy also. Plus, the brain has to do a lot of jobs to do at night to run the rest of the body. If it can't get into that state where it can do it, it can't repair, it can't recover. You need both sides. It's just necessary.
So really that bioelectrical pathway has to be functional in order for your body to get to a place where it can sleep, enjoy deep sleep and repair.
It takes energy to get into a restful state.
Perfect. Well, that's why so many people are responding, I think, because we had a lot of people that needed both 24-hour, I mean, everything within that 24-hour cycle, 24-hour cycle, both the thermo as well as the sleep. You know, again, in the last 10 days, and of course, I've been taking the product and I've been enjoying it. People say, is it supposed to make me feel a certain way? I mean, I know that everybody has a little bit different response because everybody's metabolisms are at different levels of being messed up, I think is the best way to say it. It's like somebody said one time about chronic inflammation. It's no longer a matter of do you have it, it's how bad is it? So I think it's the same way with our metabolisms. Everybody has challenged metabolisms because of the world we live in. Sure. So what would be the expectation when somebody takes like thermo? What would you expect, or what would you like to see them experience?
Well, what I would like to see them experience and what it's designed for is a sense of well-being. When things aren't working, if you don't have energy, then your body's going to tell you there's something wrong. And what is the body, how does the liver talk to you? How does your kidneys tell you that it would like some help? It doesn't have a pain sensor unless it gets really bad. So how does it tell you? It tells you you don't feel well. So if we supply the energy to the system, the feedback should be coming back, oh, things are better. I feel okay. You know, when you're young and everything is strong and your organs are strong and you're working well, you feel confident, you feel energetic, you feel like you can do it. You know that you're going to be able to succeed because you have support from your system. That's what we want. That's how it's formulated with those considerations in mind.
That's actually a lot of the feedback that we're getting, Thomas, is people are just going, I don't know, I just feel really good. Right. You know, I wake up in the morning, I'm ready to go, I'm rested, I do my sprays in the morning. And, you know, I'll tell you what I've noticed. I think at the event, I said that in the first 2 weeks, you know, I dropped 10 pounds. Subsequent to that, by the way, over the next week, maybe another 2. So not as aggressive, but I lost an inch off my waistline. In that 3rd week, it was like, are you kidding me? I mean, I'm wearing a belt I haven't worn maybe since high school. I don't know. It's not that old, but I don't think we had belts in those days, as a matter of fact. But anyway, it's been fascinating to watch the change and just the way I feel. Like, for instance, I've been on diets because, you know, every year my wife says, I want you to take care of yourself. It's time to lose weight. And I just get sick and tired of working so hard. And then it just all comes rushing back. And it's not because I go ballistic. It's just because it all comes rushing back after denying myself for weeks and weeks. But with this, I'll tell you, the biggest thing that I've noticed is that I don't have cravings. I'm not starving all the time. It's really been a pretty easy thing to adhere to just healthy eating because I'm not craving all this nonsense that I have to fear about walking by or driving by or whatever. So, so far, so good for me. And I think a lot of people that I've heard are basically saying the same things. Cravings are just not there.
We want to put people back in control of themselves, back in control of their own metabolism. And one thing to do that and to make it a little bit more comfortable, I'd be okay if people just threw the scale away. Because what's happening, as you know, Sam, what's happening in our cells and our body is we become inflamed, our membranes become more porous, and the fluid seeps out of our cells, seeps out of the membranes, and so we become a little bit more boggy. Our fluids are not well contained. As the cells become healthier and the body has a better ability to function, the turgor, or the internal pressure of the cells, can go up. And you know, lean tissue is dense. It's dense because it's more concentrated, it has more pressures in it, it can handle more. And so there are people, you'll be losing size, and you may not lose the same amount of weight because your fluid is recompartmentalizing to where it needs to go. And so we'd rather people look at their size and use size as a measure of their progress rather than weight. We don't want people to be small and small fat people. We just want people to be small, lean, functional people, or smaller. Now, small is a matter of equation. You know, everybody's built differently. There's no judgments on how a person's built. You know, that's just the way we are, but we just want them to be functional.
Well, we've been trained, you know, to jump on the scale and see what's going on.
Right.
But I like that because again, this last week I didn't see the actual scale weight, but I saw the inch, and it was just like, wow, that's pretty cool.
That's exactly.
And again, that's what we're starting to hear out there in just the first, couple of weeks, week and a half that it's been out there. So I think I think, Thomas, that's why there's such a genuine level of excitement out there, is that people are seeing things that they don't typically see in a diet program. And we haven't even launched the kit yet. We just gave samples of the 2 Biores, but I think Biores is that missing link that the whole industry has been desperately missing in this whole equation of sustainability. So I think we're going to see even better results when we get the protein out there and make it easy and convenient for people to grab a protein drink in the morning and, get their Focus Plus and rev up their brains and, the neurotransmitters and all that. It's going to be fun.
Well, everything that happens in our body is protein based. So the more protein that we can comfortably digest, the faster we'll function, the better we'll function, the better we'll have weight management. We're 20% protein, 65% water. That's 85% of everything.
Yeah.
Focus on that.
When just maybe 1 or 2 more questions, when people start, looking up frequencies and things like that, you see the quotes by Einstein, medicine of the future will be the medicine of frequencies. Dr. Renee Hurdy showed that slide. Albert St. George's, who discovered vitamin C and won the Nobel Prize, said cultures in the past used to look at energies almost exclusively. In today's world, not so much, or not at all. And so people start seeing that and they go, wait a minute, there's a history. This isn't a revolution, it's a renaissance. It's going back to ancient wisdom. And but one of the things invariably they'll run across are machines, devices, that are transferring specific frequencies into the body, sometimes pain relief, sometimes recovery. And there's all kinds. Some are, $20,000, $30,000. Some are, $39.95. I mean, there's everything out there. What would you say the difference is in what you spent your life developing in just a machine? Not just a machine. I mean, some of them obviously do incredible things, but what would you say the biggest difference is between, using nature versus using a machine?
Well, a machine can't create a flower, can't create a tree. There's limitations to what man can create versus what nature has created and what has available to us now. So everything I do is based upon natural processes, natural rhythms, natural timings. Because I've studied what works, and that's what I find works best. I just go for results. What I want is results. What works? What works best? What works best long term? That's what I found. That's my experience.
Last question, and then Steve's going to do some announcements at the end. So I think everybody's anticipating that they're going to hit their goal weights. You know, I mean, I am. I'm thinking now, man, what is stopping me from being a lean, mean fighting machine like I was years ago? And, you know, till I hit 40, 50 years old, and then all of a sudden everything seemed to slow down and everything was difficult, you know, in terms of weight at that point. But now the transition in my body is phenomenal. So then the question becomes, after I hit my goal weight, after I've, you know, lost the inches and I'm in the size that I want, do I continually take, you know, BioRes?
Well, you know, that's up to each person. That's an individual thing, but this is a support tool. This is not like your broken leg is now healed and you take your cast off. This is something that is a tool for people to use for their energy control and energy management. So I don't know why, if something got you there and something helps you stay there, why you would stop taking it, but that's each individual's choice.
You know, it's interesting. We've had Ace Manning for 20 something years. And, you know, a lot of times people use it as an integrative approach to whatever health condition they're dealing with. And the combination of standard of care, whatever their doctors are doing, and you add Ace Manning, you get this phenomenal immune response. And all of a sudden those symptoms are gone. And the doctors take them off the pharmaceutical drugs that they were using to manage the symptoms, all that. And then they go, how long do I have to take this product? And my answer is, well, how long do you want your immune system to work?
Exactly.
Because
that's what got you there.
Yeah, because in today's environment, I mean, there's so many things working against, you know, good metabolism and good functioning immune systems. You've got a toxic world unlike anything we've ever experienced. You've got stress unlike anything that man has ever had to deal with. You've got poorer food choices than we've ever seen in the history of the world. You know, the processing of foods, the commercial growing of foods. And so when foods are processed, do they lose their frequencies? I mean, is this something that all of a sudden is missing?
One of the challenges is the matter is the box that the energy fits in. And if we don't have the right matter to start with, good, organic, rich matter, then you can't build the right boxes. And so the plants and herbs and spices I use come from the richest natural sources I can find, because those are where the boxes of the energies fit. So what I mean is that if you don't have the right materials, you can't contain the same amount of energy in it. And so when we have depleted soils, we have processing where most of the elements are left. Plus, again, we have this good and bad element in all foods, in that we have to sort through and get rid of that which is trying to protect the plant and is counterproductive, and retain and sustain that which is. So it just is a step up, I feel, and I know, in our abilities to adapt to the world. As the world becomes more complicated, we need more tools to work with, and this is one of them.
So the takeaway from what you just said is there's no way you could get this resonant energy in a normal diet, regardless of what you're eating.
Doesn't exist, no, because it comes from all over the world.
Well, on behalf of everybody that's on this call,